Violent floods, landslides powerful enough to shake entire mountainsides, and sudden everyday accidents turn many familiar places into scenes filled with dust tremors and chaos within seconds. And here are some of the most intense natural events and unpredictable moments ever captured on camera in real life. The rescue scene at the floodwaters showed how raging currents can make people look incredibly small against nature completely out of control. The excavator nearly disappeared beneath the rapidly rising water, creating the chilling feeling that nature was slowly swallowing everything ahead.
There went the 107 bridge. 107 highway bridge.
Floodwater thundered down the hillside after the dam failure in NSW, making the entire landscape below appear as though it were being erased from the map. Storm drains across Chicago erupted violently during the flooding, making it look as though the ground itself was bursting apart from underneath. A moment that showed highway-side situations demand absolute attention from every direction of moving traffic. The ceiling fan suddenly fell right behind the little girl sitting underneath it, leaving many people chilled by just how close the distance was. Do you think the rolling shutter door jammed because of a technical failure or simply too much dirt buildup? Violent waves brought traffic to a standstill around St. Julian's Bay, a scene reminding everyone how quickly rough seas can change everything. The lighthouse trembled beneath the brutal waves of Storm Garrett, while the sea below looked as though it were raging directly against the structure itself. landslide buried the road beneath dust and rocks, leaving the feeling that the entire mountainside had suddenly poured down onto the roadway below. The scene in Pollo became heavy and unsettling as an enormous section of land collapsed following improper excavation activity. A crack in the road rapidly widened into a deep sinkhole as though the earth had suddenly withdrawn from beneath the car. The scene aboard the ship showed that even while docked, rough waters can still toss a vessel around like a toy among the waves. The truck tractor slid across the icy road and pulled off an incredible drift, making the winter highway look like a giant racing track. Would you feel confident trying to make it through this curve? The violent current rushed through without warning, leaving a powerful reminder of how dangerous it can be to move near flooded areas. The moment inside this warehouse turned tense as the unstable load on the forklift tilted dangerously and nearly crushed the nearby worker. Do you think it happened because the girl was careless, or because the wall had already become unstable over time? The wall suddenly collapsed beside the man standing nearby, leaving many people shaken by just how close the danger really was. The vehicle spun violently before slamming into a parked car, showing how a single mistake can quickly lead to major damage. Just a few seconds later, and the outcome might have been completely different as the bridge collapsed right where the man had been about to step. Sometimes only a few seconds of panic are enough to make a situation far more difficult to control. The driver may have trusted the braking system a little too much without properly maintaining it first. The car slid off the road on the icy curb near the warehouse, showing how winter roads demand extremely gentle and precise control. The steel coil rolled off the truck and thundered down the road right beside the motorcyclist, leaving the feeling that luck had shifted everything by only inches. The canopy collapsed directly above the vehicle, proving that even familiar structures can suddenly become dangerous without warning. The helicopter had barely reached stable lift before the incident occurred, reminding many people how sensitive low-altitude takeoffs can be.
Quase caiu o avião! O avião caiu! O avião caiu!
The moment of lost control sent the motorcycle crashing straight into the house, leaving viewers holding their breath at the sudden burst of acceleration. Looking at this image, do you feel regular vehicle maintenance is always the right decision? Powerful winds swept through and snapped the tree violently onto the ground, as though nature had broken it apart with a single brutal twist.
Ебать! Дед развалился нахуй! Ебать! Пиздец!
Just one strong gust of wind was enough to bring the backyard tree crashing down, proving that nature can transform even familiar places very quickly.
30多年啊，头回见这大雨，太恐怖了，太恐怖了，真的太恐怖了。
The landslide altered the river mouth's natural flow, creating violent reverse currents and powerful surges spilling across both riverbanks. The flood transformed the streets into a violent river, dragging vehicles away beneath terrifying currents too powerful to resist. Vehicles were crushed beneath the collapsing wall like tiny metal cans under the cold weight of concrete and steel.
Из этой машины еще «Жигули». Белая семерка. Обвалилась подпорная стена.
What seemed like an ordinary road suddenly collapsed beneath the vehicle, leaving behind a dark void surrounded by shattered concrete. The lightning strike across Western Australia lit up the sky like a massive white fracture tearing through the night. Powerful winds tore through the cafe area like an invisible collision, hurling everything straight toward the nearby glass windows. A lightning bolt ripped across the Wisconsin sky before flames rapidly spread through the tree amid the storm's rain and wind. A lightning strike hit near the highway in Queensland, like the sky had suddenly cracked open beside the moving vehicles. The accident unfolded incredibly fast during the boat launch. The kind of situation that often happens when weight distribution and lifting angles lose their original balance. The truck was struck violently by the Amtrak train at the crossing, a scene that made many people think twice before crossing railroad tracks. The gate swung open, and the dog immediately sprinted into the street like the entire situation had slipped out of control in the blink of an eye.
Rocky, come on. Come on. Jump.
The quiet kitchen quickly transformed into the scene of an organized food robbery once the golden retriever discovered the refrigerator.
Yo, this raccoon is drunk.
The panda drank so much beer it could barely walk straight, making the warehouse feel like someone had accidentally opened a bar for wildlife.
Holy shit! Oh the fuck! Holy shit!
不要！快点去吧！快点！快走嘞！快走！
The vehicle barreled straight toward the store, forcing the employee to leap up and run a moment, proving accidents sometimes come from the last place anyone expects. After only minutes of heavy rain, the streets of Ellicott City nearly vanished beneath fast-moving floodwater, while vehicles drifted away like leaves in a storm river.
Oh my God. Damn. Shit happened again.
Mud-filled floodwater tore through the hospital area with terrifying power, spinning vehicles through the current like toys lost in the storm. The floodwaters surged over the banks like a wild force completely out of control, slowly swallowing the entire neighborhood beneath rushing water. Security footage captured the exact moment a tree crashed onto the house during the storm, creating the feeling that the ground itself was shaking beneath the violent weather.
But
Strong winds tore through the apartment complex in North Alabama, with enough force to make it feel as though the roofs were about to lift completely off the buildings. Freezing winds spread a heavy sense of cold across Minnesota, making the entire state feel trapped inside a gigantic frozen wilderness. A powerful earthquake forced residents of Mirapur to flee their homes in panic as relentless tremors rocked the entire neighborhood. Only seconds after people rushed outside, debris began crashing down as the earthquake violently shook the Bali region. Does this moment remind you of a disaster scene straight out of a Hollywood movie?
Scott, go, 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 go! Get your jacket off.
The truck explosion consumed the roadway outside the restaurant in flames and thick black smoke, turning the scene into total chaos within seconds. The high-rise building in Louisiana collapsed into a massive cloud of dust, as though the scars left behind by the storm had finally dragged the structure down. The moment the crocodile exploded from the water looked like an ancient predator machine launching itself from the quiet river below. The humpback whales spiraled together to trap schools of fish, making it feel as though the ocean itself had built a massive living net. Just a few seconds of imbalance sent the vehicle plunging down the slope, showing how heavily loaded trucks become far harder to control in tight spaces. If you saw this happen in front of you, do you think you could stay as calm as the man walking beside the road? The chaos inside the store reminded many people that getting used to a new steering system always requires patience and careful speed control. The diver remained completely still while surrounded by a dense crowd of sharks, creating the feeling of standing in the middle of the ocean's rush hour subway station. The humpback whale's enormous breach exploded across the water in white spray, like the ocean itself had just taken an excited breath. Manta rays kept circling beneath the waters of the Maldives, making it feel as though the ocean was performing a giant underwater dance routine.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Thank you for saying something.
The scene beneath Panama City Beach Pier turned surreal as stingrays glided past like giant kites flying under the sea.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my God.
The garbage truck was hit hard by the subway train on the tracks, proving how even a tiny mistake in timing can lead to major consequences. The crash happened after a series of frantic impacts, proving that overreacting too quickly can sometimes make situations even harder to control.
Holy. This bridge is gonna collapse. This bridge is gonna collapse.
The atmosphere in Yellowstone became deeply unsettling as the bridge disappeared into the floodwaters, leaving behind only swirling currents and an empty void.
Oh my gosh. That was our way home.
Wait, I call you back, bro. Just get home safe, bro. Okay, bro. You too. Okay. All right.
A massive layer of sea foam covered the shoreline, after the storm making the skateboard scene look like it was unfolding on an ocean made of clouds. The hailstorm in North Dakota became so intense that the golf course safety net tore apart beneath the crushing weight of massive chunks of ice.
Oh my God.
The city slowly disappeared behind thick waves of sand as the storm approached, like the desert itself had swallowed everything in its path. Massive waves crashed into the French Basque coast, turning the peaceful resort atmosphere into a desperate race against wind and water.
It's flooding everywhere. It's flooding. Oh my god. Oh my gosh.
The earthquake shook the Xochimilco Canal heavily while the boats rocked violently as though trapped between two opposing movements beneath the water.
Oh my god.
Oh, you're recording this, right?
Oh, oh my gosh. Holy shit.
That is why I'm a man.
This is the most...
What are the odds?
I was like, what the...
Güey, está muy fuerte, güey.
The earthquake sweeping across Alaska caused the living room to shake violently, while furniture repeatedly slammed out of place amid chaotic crashing sounds. Hail pounded relentlessly around the vehicle, while the man tried desperately to shield himself in a scene resembling a battle against a frozen storm. What first looked harmless suddenly turned into a fire after a lithium-ion battery exploded moments after being bitten by the dog. The man stood only steps away from the sweeping impact, a situation reminding many drivers how important it is to check truck doors before moving. The crane at the port definitely had the kind of workday the insurance company never wanted to hear about afterward. The boat flew out of the pickup truck while moving and shot directly toward oncoming traffic, proving how important securing cargo becomes on long drives. Strong winds and hail covered the yard with relentless impacts, while the trees looked as though winter itself was crushing them in the middle of summer. The wooden porch instantly became a miniature wrestling arena as the bear cubs rolled around like fluffy little chaos machines.
Oh.
The man hadn't even fully woken up before the bear outside his front door made the morning feel like the opening scene of a very confusing wildlife movie.
Oh my God.
Millions of tiny fish swirled around the photographer at Ningaloo Reef like a living cloud constantly changing shape beneath the water.
There we go.
The towers at Didcot collapsed within seconds, leaving behind a massive empty space, like part of industrial history had been erased from the skyline. This situation shows just how important speed control is when moving through confined spaces. The slip across the puddle happened so quickly that the entire scene looked perfectly timed, like a comedy movie sequence. The parking gate suddenly turned into a domino effect after the cargo motorcycle crashed into it, sending all three officers tumbling to the ground.
Pero es aluminio esa madre.
This moment made the door seem like the strictest security guard in the building, stopping her without the slightest warning.
Es impresionante. Kano Kisamaña abajo se está cayendo el cerro.
The powerful earthquake transformed the calm water into violent waves. Flood waters after the storm tore down the bridge in Salto do Céu, almost as though the Rio Branco River had erased the connection between both sides itself. The devastating flood in Rongjiang surged forward like a massive wall of water, quickly sweeping away everything in its path without a trace. The building in northern India could no longer remain standing as rocks and earth continued sliding downward as though the mountainside itself were dragging everything away.
Some big waves. Back to back. Just a touch. We're gonna wipe the wipers. We've got a couple more very large.
Taitung Fishing Harbor shook beneath the violent waves of Super Typhoon Meranti, where the sea itself seemed completely out of control. The store shelves collapsed one after another in perfect sequence, leaving the supermarket looking like home appliances had suddenly started a coordinated protest. What began as a tiny bump quickly triggered a domino effect across the entire store, sending products crashing down as though someone had hit a giant reset button. Within seconds, the crate full of dishes slid straight down the stairs and turned the entire lower floor into a place where no plate had any chance of survival. Floodwater roared beneath the bridge with heavy force, and within moments, the entire structure disappeared into the swirling current below. The flood-swollen Cimarron River looked like a giant hand pulling the entire house away from the familiar riverbank through the raging water. Amid the muddy floodwaters, the image of the man clinging to a utility pole for hours made the scene feel like a small human struggle against overwhelming nature. Snow completely covered the roads and sky across northwest Minnesota, where the distance ahead faded into a cold white blur. The lightning over Disney World made the entire scene look like a massive storm awakening behind the glowing lights of the park. The storm over Abilene unleashed enormous chunks of ice from the sky, causing the entire area to shake beneath the constant impacts.
Hey, that's another thing too. I got full coverage on my pickup. That's good.
A massive swarm of jellyfish filled the harbor waters in Italy, making the sea appear as though it were glowing and breathing with its own rhythm. Thousands of flamingos stretched across the lake in Kazakhstan like a moving pink cloud reflected perfectly on the water.
Uh-oh. Oh, shit.
The penguin's leap onto the ice looked like a tiny athlete completing the perfect escape from the ocean in dramatic fashion.
We made it!
The aircraft continued knocking the man down after the initial blast, reminding many people just how important safe distances are around jet engines. A single technical leak caused the Boeing to burst into flames right at the airport, showing how aviation leaves almost no room for even the smallest mistake. This scene shows how even the most familiar jobs can become dangerous when operators grow too confident around unstable terrain. Nature can sometimes push far beyond the limits of even the largest machines built to withstand it. A single loose wheel rolling free turned the entire roadway tense within seconds, especially in an area packed with moving traffic. Only a few careless seconds about height clearance completely destroyed the truck, especially on roads with low overhead limits. Flames consumed the historic airship hangar before the entire structure collapsed like a burning giant falling to the ground. The old coal power plant in West Virginia crumbled into a massive wall of dust as though an entire chapter of industrial history had disappeared from the earth.
Oh no, look at that!
The building in Raleigh could no longer withstand the violent winds, looking as though the storm was tearing the structure apart piece by piece. Avalanche buildup along the Provo River was blasted apart with explosives, making the entire mountainside seem to tremble beneath Utah's harsh winter.
Get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. Get out of here.
Avalanches buried the road into Zermatt for the second time in just weeks, where the mountains and ice now look like an enormous frozen wall.
Oh, there you go. No skiing today then.
A blizzard engulfed Dublin Airport in a white haze so dense that runway lights barely glowed through the storm. Massive hailstones crashed down from the sky over Florianopolis like giant blocks of ice thrown directly at the ground by the storm.
Meu Deus, vem de Colombo. Acho que tá lá fora. O carro de cada pedaço. Ele tá lá com
Powerful winds and hail battered South Australia with brutal force, making the sky appear as though it was endlessly throwing ice toward the ground. Thousands of dead fish floated across the Shinnecock Canal after oxygen levels dropped, making the waterway look like an exhausted ocean gasping through the summer heat.
Look at this.
The man was so focused on his phone that the wall ahead practically turned into an unavoidable surprise meeting. Tiny wings fluttered endlessly above the Minnesota wildflowers, like a rainstorm made entirely of color floating through peaceful nature. Colorado State Park filled with fluttering monarch butterflies, making the entire landscape feel as though it was breathing with orange light and soft sunshine. The endless wave of red crabs across Christmas Island looked like a gigantic moving carpet spread across the entire landscape by nature itself. Which moment in this video felt the most unbelievable to you? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy content like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you won't miss the next incredible moments caught on camera.